Welcome, beautiful Paris Saint Germain family. An imminent video because everybody wants to know, will Paris Saint Germain do something in the January transfer window? We did something before with Luis Enrique in his previous two January windows. What will we be doing in this January transfer window? That's what we'll be finding out in today's video. First of all, we have this report from Foot Mercato. Not the best source, but let's see. PSG is actively preparing its winter transfer window with the goal of strengthening the team. The Parisian club is targeting a versatile defender, an experienced midfielder, and a winger. Aware of the current limitations of his squad, Luis Enrique has shown himself favorable to the arrival of new reinforcements. And that last report basically goes back to the summer. Luis Campos had even more players lined up for a potential arrival at Paris Saint-Germain, and Luis Enrique was happy with the squad that he had. And they're saying maybe now, with the form that Paris Saint-Germain have been so far in the beginning of the season, with the injuries, maybe Luis Enrique is changing his mind. But as you can see, targeting a versatile defender, an experienced midfielder, and a winger. Let's take a look at the versatile defender. I think the versatility comes from, obviously, Hakimi and Nuno not really having backups. And, yeah. First thing we've got to take a look at is Eric Garcia. And Eric Garcia is a good player. And has been actually probably Barca's best defender so far this season. And his contract obviously runs out in the summer. And that's who Paris Saint-Germain are looking at. Can play as a centre-back, can play as a right-back. Came through the academy at City under Pep Guardiola. Played a little bit under Xavi, played at Girona, now back at FC Barcelona. So he knows how it is to play at a top team with a lot of possession, counter-attacks by the opposition and so on. But I just don't see this transfer happening at all, and you see why. Breaking PSG wants Eric Garcia, and he's working to get him in on a free transfer next summer. The club might be tempted to even open talks with Barca this January for a small fee if a deal continues to progress well between both parties. And this is from Tanzi, very reliable right here. But this is why this transfer will not happen. Eric Garcia contract renewal is in progress. Negotiations are well underway and it's expected that the agreement will be finalized in the coming weeks. Club and player are in agreement. Only some contractual details remain to be defined. Everything points to Eric signing until 2030. Marta Ramon. Info. According to RSA1, Barcelona Eric Garcia have reached a near complete agreement over his contract renewal. So basically, Eric Garcia, and why I discussed this is, first of all, even if he wasn't going to extend the FC Barcelona, why would Barca let him go? With Inigo Martinez already left, even if, let's say, PSG bid up to 15 million for Eric Garcia, who only has 6 months left on his contract in January, will that really help Barca? What will they win from this situation? Because I don't believe they'll be able to replace Eric Garcia with as good of a player for 15 million. So from Barcelona's perspective, it doesn't make any sense. Eric Garcia, he'll go from Barca's bench to PSG's bench. Maybe from Eric Garcia's point of view, it would make sense. And Paris Saint-Germain, obviously, we will get a player that can play as a centre-back and can play as a right-back, especially now that Hakimi is gone. The thing is, though, Hakimi will be back much earlier. Then there was another report regarding Daniel Munoz, who is an Ecuadorian right back at Crystal Palace. Very good player. PSG is considering making a move as early as January to sign Daniel Munoz, the Colombian fullback. With Ashraf Hakimi's injury, Paris wants to bolster the right flank with a solid and experienced profile. PSG is ready to get ahead of Barcelona, who I didn't know were interested in Daniel Munoz. But honestly, as I showed with the Hakimi stuff, Hakimi is going to return back as early as December 21st, before the January transfer window begins. And obviously, Hakimi will be out for a little extra because he will be gone and play AFCON with Morocco, which is played between the middle of December until the middle of January. But the sense of this getting a backup for now for Hakimi really isn't needed because, first of all, Hakimi is not going to be injured for the rest of the season. And second of all, what's the point in getting someone that's not going to get any game time when Ashraf Hakimi fully comes back? So I'm going to be honest, I don't see Paris Saint-Germain signing this versatile defender they're talking about. We'll instead rely on two players from the academy in David Bully. I already put out a video, you can make sure and go and watch it, and Noha Kamara, who can play as a centre-back as well. So when it comes to the versatile defender, I genuinely do not see Paris Saint-Germain signing one. We'll instead rely on the backups like Lucas Beraldo, Lucas Hernandez, and the youngsters, as I've mentioned. And I don't see us signing a defender. Next up is moving into midfielder. And it said experienced midfielder. And these are the names I've been pulling up. Bissouma only has 6 months left in his contract. Played previously in Ligue 1. Could be an interesting shout. A player profile that I wouldn't say we have in the team. a physical, more deep playing defensive player, but still very technical. There is Pellegrini. I think previously Paris Saint-Germain have been linked with him. I don't know if it's under the Luis Enrique management, but Pellegrini, I believe, only has 6 months left on his contract as well, so he could be a cheeky acquisition. There's Koke from Atletico Madrid, also only 6 months left on his contract, could be an interesting one. Then we have Varela from Porto, and this is a player that we previously linked to on Transfermarkt. It says he's a DM, plays for Porto, contract ends in 2028, and he could be an interesting player to go after. There's Bruno Guimaraes and Sandro Tonali at Newcastle United, two players that have been linked with Paris Saint-Germain ever since Luis Enrique joined the club, and both of them experienced, good players, would want to upgrade from Newcastle United. So maybe one of these two Paris Saint-Germain could swoop into when it comes to the midfield. But once again, I'm going to be fully honest. Looking at the midfield depth that we have, Fabian Ruiz, João Neves, Vitinha, Warren Zara-Emery, Sinema Yoro, Due can play midfield, Kangili can play midfield. I mean, I just don't see a place for another midfielder in the current Paris Saint-Germain setup. And as I mentioned with the Hakimi injury, Fabian just came back, Neves just came back. Yes, maybe another injury happens, but honestly, I don't see Paris Saint-Germain going after a midfielder because I don't really see it needed. Lastly but not least, we'll take a look at the winger, and this is a position that is extremely likely Paris Saint-Germain will go for. Why? Because this was one of our targets in the summer. Why do you think we went after Franco Mastantuono, a left-footed right winger? Because that's what Luis Enrique wanted for the team. We tried with Achlios. Monaco asked for too much money in the summer, and that's who we'll be returning back for in January. I definitely see this as a very likely transfer, especially compared to the versatile defender and the experienced midfielder Charles van Foot Mercato report. Achlios, 23 years of age, left-footed right winger. He's a player that would, just like we signed Desiree Doué and Bradley Barcola, another French young attacker from the league, obviously making Monaco a little bit weaker. And Achlios, it's very realistic. It gives me very similarities to Kvaratskhelia. We wanted him in summer, couldn't get him, went back in for him for January. So this is by far the most likely one. Then there's some other ones. I actually forgot what this dude's name is, but he's a top winger coming through the ranks of Köln. Dribble, explosive player, very good in decision making in the final third as well. And Paris Saint-Germain will be facing a lot of competition from other clubs, but he's a player we've been interested in. Then this is a cheeky shout I came up with myself, Savio, I think when you look at his ability, maybe he doesn't have the most blistering pace, but he could be a cheeky acquisition for Paris Saint-Germain, even potentially getting a loan deal. Obviously, for a transfer fee, I saw City asking for like 70 million for Spurs. He's obviously not worth that kind of money, and Paris Saint-Germain would not pay that kind of money. But I think that Savio is a really interesting shout that Paris Saint-Germain should be looking into. Next up, this report came out about Alexei Batrakov, that Paris Saint-Germain are looking into for him, 23 million offer. And this is what his agent did. Alexei is a very intelligent and versatile player. No, this information is accurate. Yes, we're in discussions with Paris Saint-Germain, but also with various European clubs. So this basically came out of the blue, out of nowhere. I think he's more of a striker. Paris Saint-Germain are linked with him. Don't see it happen, honestly. And then we're going to look at the other big names that Paris Saint-Germain could potentially go in for. There's Rodrigo to Real Madrid. We know about his situation at Madrid. We know about Paris Saint-Germain's interest. Then there's Vinicius Jr. We know about his situation. Only 1 year left in his contract in the summer. Maybe Paris Saint-Germain make a big, ballsy move. But if Paris Saint-Germain is going to make a big, ballsy move, it's going to be Julian Alvarez at Atletico Madrid. He wants to leave Atletico Madrid, and the two clubs he would love to join is FC Barcelona and Paris Saint-Germain. FC Barcelona, the likelihood of Alvarez going there is 0%. Atletico would want to sell to a rival, and Barca don't have the money. So Paris Saint-Germain is immediately the first option for Atletico Madrid and Alvarez if a departure was going to happen. So let's say Julian Alvarez goes to the Atletico Madrid, bosses, and tells them, I want to leave to PSG. They will put a price. If PSG pays it, Julian Alvarez will be joining Paris Saint-Germain. So this is the only potential blockbuster. I don't see maybe the Vini or Rodrigo happening, but this could be an absolute huge signing. Playing Dembele on the right, playing Kvaratskhelia on the left, having Alvarez up top, and having Doué, having Barcola, and who knows, maybe we'll get more injuries and so on, especially with the Dembele one. We need another top player in that attack, because that's what has been mostly frustrating with PSG, is the attack. We've still not conceded too many goals. We've still kept enough clean sheets. Is the attack. Obviously, with the injuries, with Desiree Doué, Khvicha Kvaratskhelia, Ousmane Dembele, and even Bradley Barcola, all have been injured this season. I think Julian Alvarez would be a top tier signing for Paris Saint-Germain. But I still think the only thing at the moment, if I could predict and put money on it, only Achlios will be joining Paris Saint-Germain in January. But we'll have to wait and see. Last January, I was like, are we going to get Kvara? That's why I was pushing for Rashford, because I didn't think maybe it would happen, and it happened. So maybe Paris Saint-Germain surprised us once again. But this report came out from Abdallah Bulmo, who's a more reliable reporter than Foot Mercato. PSG are not planning to recruit a player during the January transfer window. Unless a player from the squad departs, the club aims to have continuity and find internal solutions, despite of the injuries or physical problems sustained by the squad. So at the end of the day, maybe Paris Saint-Germain doesn't even make a single signing, even though I don't really believe that, because Paris Saint-Germain have been very consistent under Luis Enrique and Luis Campos during the January transfer window, signing Gabriel Moscardo and Lucas Beraldo in the first January transfer window, and obviously signing Khvicha Kvaratskhelia in the January window. And I do remember from the summer transfer window, some reports always mention Paris Saint-Germain will go into the season like this, see what happens, see what goes on, see what's needed, because that's what Paris Saint-Germain basically uses August until January. They basically use it as a semi-preseason, see what's needed, see what needs to be improved on, and then go into the January transfer window making that happen. So I don't fully believe that we're not going to sign a player, especially if someone is not sold. But yeah, I definitely think Paris Saint-Germain will be signing at least one player in the January transfer window. And who knows, maybe other players leave and Paris Saint-Germain go after even more players. So it's going to be very interesting what happens in the upcoming weeks leading up to the January transfer window. In my opinion, we don't need to sign a goalkeeper. I don't even think we need to sign a defender. I would rather see David Bolly promoted into the team and see how he plays and how good he is. Maybe give some minutes to Noah Kamara as well. Looking at the midfield, neither. And up in attack, Achlios. If you can get Julian Alvarez, get Julian Alvarez. There's obviously Rodrigo Mora as well. Maybe that's more of a summer transfer window. But I don't think Paris Saint-Germain are pressured in any moment. With all of the injuries not being that bad, I think by late January, every single Paris Saint-Germain player should be back. So we don't have any injuries where we need to replace the injured players. So we're not in a situation where we're desperate to make signings. Quite the opposite. I think the plan from the summer was go after Achlios in January again and maybe look at some other opportunistic signings. If Julian Alvarez wants to leave, if Paris Saint-Germain are ready to pay that money, maybe that could happen. We'll have to wait and see. I will continue to update you guys on all Paris Saint-Germain news. That's been it from Boy PSG, and hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. And as usual, allez Paris.